good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on The Big Story. I'm Afrida Rahman Ali. We are at a juncture now in this country where Diwali is round the corner, but there are at least three major challenges that cities like Delhi are facing. Temperatures are dipping, which makes it easier for pollutants to settle in the air. At the same time, there's the threat of coronavirus, coupled with alarming levels of pollution that the city is witnessing. This is the issue we are going to look at from the perspective of the ban on cracker bursting, on firecrackers, that has been now imposed by the National Green Tribunal. Remember, this is a fresh decision that has come which bans use and sale of firecrackers from the 9th to the 30th of this month. Now, Delhi continues to battle the dual challenge. There is a huge spike in COVID cases. The daily caseload has gone way beyond 7,000, which is alarming. And the situation, what we are given to understand now, has been sounded off by the IMD that has raised an alarm stating that the situation in the national capital is going to remain the same for the next 2 days. And the situation will only improve after 12th of November, 12th and 13th. Due to easterly winds, there might be some respite. Taking cognizance of the situation, NGT has banned all kinds of crackers now in the NCR. What does the NGT order say? The National Green Tribunal has imposed a complete ban on the sale and use of firecrackers. Like I said, there is no relaxation that is allowed anymore in this. No green crackers, no relaxation even on any hours for that matter when it comes to the NCR. Till the end of the month, there will be a complete ban on crackers bursting. Now, in fact, not just in NCR, a similar ban has been imposed in states that have reported bad air quality. States with moderate or below moderate levels, however, can have the luxury of using green crackers for a limited period, for a window of 2 hours during festivals. So that's the larger picture we are getting at the moment. And we are also, in fact, going to run you through the highlights of the NGT order that has come only today. But the fact remains that whether an order is imposed or not, the citizens have a responsibility as well to exercise abundant caution. I'm going to go across to my colleague Aarti Subramaniam joining me now with the details of the NGT order. So Aarti, this is of course much needed, but then it of course comes also as a damage control exercise. Nevertheless, this was something needed for the capital city at a time like this. Over to you for the main features of the NGT order.
Well, we are looking at a twin problem of poor air quality along with an increasing COVID cases. And it is in this backdrop that the NGT has stepped in. And I'm just going to take you through some of the main pointers of that order. There is a complete ban on the sale and use of crackers in the NCR from 9th of November to 30th of November. Delhi especially has been seizing an increasing number of cases. The air quality even before Diwali is already in the severe category. So this is perhaps just going to alleviate the problem a little. But a complete ban on sale use of firecrackers from the November 9th to 10th. Now the ban on crackers during November will also be applicable in other cities which are showing poor air quality. So it's not restricted just to the NCR region. There is also going to be, and remember we're in the middle of a festive season where it's not just Diwali, we have Christmas coming up soon, there's Chhat Puja coming up soon. So there are also various provisions for that. Now states with moderate air quality can sell green crackers. We've seen states like Karnataka, for example, do a number of U-turns on this issue. First they say we're going to ban all crackers, then they say no, we're not going to, we're going to ban only green crackers. But the NGT order says that states with moderate air quality can allow to sell and burst green crackers. Now, the bursting of green crackers in states to be limited to 2 hours. Haryana decided to do this, that we're going to allow the sale of crackers only for 2 hours. We're going to allow you to burst crackers only for 2 hours. So the NGT order has also permitted some states to have crackers for 2 hours only. Now, cracker bursting is allowed between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. during Diwali. As I was saying, well, we're in the midst of a festive season. There's Diwali, there's Chhat Puja, there's Christmas and New Year's coming up. As far as Diwali is concerned, it is 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. during Diwali. During the Chhat Puja, it is 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. This is also a very crucial festival. And in those 2 hours, crackers will be allowed. And for Christmas and New Year's, it is going to be between 11:55 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. These are the three big festivals. These are the three slots which have been given of 2 hours each to each of these festivals. Now, states and union territories may initiate special drives to contain pollution. This is, of course, going to be mandatory for them to do so in light of the deteriorating air quality. And finally, the CPCB is going to file report on the status of compliance from states and UTs. That is, the Central Pollution Control Board has to get back to the NGT and say, this state has done this. Now, is it going to be enough? Is a firecracker ban more of a stopgap measure, or is it much needed? Well, we'll have to figure out until after this festive season to see A, the impact on air quality, and B, on the COVID cases.
Right, Aarti, thanks for giving us the pointers, the important features of the NGT order. I'm now going to go across to our guest joining us this afternoon, Dr. Jugal Kishore, Head of the Community Medicines Department of Safdarjung Hospital, and Mr. Anand Arya, well-known environmentalist, joining us on the broadcast. Thank you for giving us your time. Welcome, gentlemen. I want to begin with Dr. Kishore. Like my colleague Aarti explained, that there are at least 4 elements now. You have the lowering temperatures, you have the coronavirus threat, air pollution levels are at very dangerous status right now. And on top of all of this, you have a major health hazard, a public health emergency situation. Given the deadly cocktail that we are looking at, in real terms, what is the kind of impact it has on the human body? What has been your experience of dealing with the pandemic in the national capital, given that today we are reporting that the rate of increase of cases in Delhi is 3 times over the national average? Dr. Kishore.
Yeah, thank you very much for asking me this question. Very important. I think everybody is asking this question. What is going to happen to everybody when they are facing such a cocktail of pollution and COVID and also the respiratory diseases? We have the data from last few years and showing that NO2 and SO2 and also the ozone and PM10 and PM2.5 increase manifold during this season, and sometimes it is even beyond the any kind of expectation. It is so toxic. So that is not the living air in which we are living in Delhi and around this Delhi. Now we have found that dry cough, the cough with the sputum, and then the heaviness in chest, the chest pain, and then watering of eyes and nose, and then sneezing. They are the common signs and symptoms. And the people who are having the asthma and also COPD, many times the cases are increased because of the exposure to these pollutants. And this is because I think you can understand that when we have this exposure where a lot of 2.5 PM2 is there, 2.5. So what happened to our respiratory tract, got the injury, and it is more vulnerable for any kind of infection. Previously used to be influenza and other respiratory diseases, but this time we have the COVID, right. And that is why the number of cases increased manifold. So we have the evidence, and the patients are coming to our hospital with these problems.
Right. Anand Arya, the 3 elements, of course, we know the coronavirus, the pollution levels, and the lowering temperatures, and add to it now the 4th element, the festival season. Now, from your experience as an environmentalist, and you've worked very closely on ground on several issues, we have noticed that festivals often become avenues for actually increasing pollutants in our air, water, and soil. And, we have seen, in fact, the Chief Minister of Delhi saying this, that after the Durga Puja and the Dussehra, the levels have really deteriorated in the national capital in particular. And now we have the Diwali season coming up. This ban on crackers, in that sense, will that be enough? If you can tell us what is the kind of irreparable damage that is caused to the environment, if we do not exercise certain precautions?
Well, I think Dr. Kishore has amplified the impact that is on the human body. Now, why are we going through this situation year after year, is essentially because of 2 factors, to my mind. One, essentially, the government of Delhi, I have been screaming from the housetop for a long time that whatever is within their powers, they haven't done it. For example, I mean, had they controlled the dust which is coming from the roads and the open areas which are dug up or whatever is happening, plus the construction dust which is happening in and around Delhi. Now, every time this government says that it is coming from somewhere else, like Parali is coming from Haryana and Punjab, PM 2.5 is coming from Gurgaon and Ghaziabad, and I really don't understand. I just written this morning a letter to the Chief Minister uh, as an open online petition, that why is he not doing the things which are within his powers, and every time he is crying hoarse that the central government is not letting me do this, they are not doing it. I mean, there are 6 7 points on which he doesn't need, and in fact, on the other hand, he has the power of judiciary behind him. For example, cleaning Yamuna River. I mean, I'm sure Dr. Kishore would be able to tell us that the amount of gases which are emanating from this
Yes.
24 square kilometer of Yamuna River throughout the year, it is not just. And what is happening? He has not bothered to implement the NGT decision from which was being in application from January 2015. Supreme Court order on putting in more buses on the on the road, 11,000 buses, which will definitely reduce the PM 2.5 that is coming from the vehicles. Now, he hasn't done anything. I mean, he doesn't need, even if the center says to hell with you, we will not let you do it. All that he has to do is to approach the NGT and this thing. Okay. Now, the Delhi Pollution Control Committee is exclusively under the control of the Delhi government. Now, he can ban anything which is, polluting, and he is just not doing it. Now, I think he has to
Yes,
understand
absolutely.
that life is more important than the livelihood. Now, coming to the crackers, I really don't see absolutely any reason at all. When did we start celebrating Diwali for that matter? Thousands of years ago. And were there crackers? Were there fireworks at that time? What all these things were available at that time? No. This is something which we have sort of added on to our
Yes.
celebration. So there is really, I personally feel
Right.
that
So you
NG
made two very important points, Mr. Arya. I would like to just quickly go across to Dr. Kishore again. But the 2 points that you made: A, that the Delhi government has not done the stuff that is within its powers to do, and you have explained to us why you say that. Therefore, we question that there have been NGT orders before as well. It's the enforcement and implementation that is important. And second, of course, I agree with you when you say that many of these traditions are manufactured. In fact, I did a little check, and I found that this tradition of burning crackers also was never the part of the original tradition. It came in much later, and therefore many historians are actually calling it a manufactured tradition. It is not really there in mythology, and we might as well now, perhaps it's about time we go back to the basics and simply celebrate it as a festival of lights. Dr. Kishore, coming to the point of what Mr. Anand Arya also raised, that it happens to be again a delicate balance of life and livelihood in many of these issues, and here again the traders, those who are involved in the business of firecrackers, have impressed upon their respective governments. For example, in Haryana, first a complete ban, and then the government relents and says, okay, fine, let there be a 2-hour cap. Can you explain to us that the seriousness with which we need to take this? Mr. Arya says life before livelihood. Where do you stand on this debate?
Thank you again for this question. This is a question, for us when we talk about the smoking, when we talk about alcohol, when we talk about the way the people are driving on road. So the public health has to make a balance and give the advice. And in that case, also you have to see that the livelihood is important, but at the same time, when it is causing damage to their health and also the others' health, then one has to see that can we change their livelihood to some other. So the government has to make provision like the provision where they can change their livelihood. That is one way. Other is rightly said, as Anand ji has rightly said, that this is not our tradition to have such kind of. So when this is not there and it is all manufactured, why we are promoting it? Why not it is totally banned? The ban actually when you open even for 1 hour, that is not going to solve the problem, because I have seen last many years the people are still buying a huge number of the crackers and then bursting it. They are mad. I don't know why they have this kind of mania for these things. Remember that public health is more important than anybody else.
Right.
The individual health
Yes.
cannot be taken priority on not the individual interest, and also the it is not even health issue. It is their health also is going to be the maximum number of burns occur
So,
during
Dr.
this
Kishore,
period.
what would you advise? What are the 3 things that you will tell people? Because, governments are often squeamish when it comes to festivals. There are sentiments involved. And like Mr. Anand Arya was saying, that you take 2 steps first and then you take 1 step backward because of this issue of festival sentiment being involved as well. Delhi, if I may point out here, according to one report, Delhi citizens would live an average of 9 years more if the WHO air quality standards were met. Now, this is a statistic that we have with us. As many as 10,000 people die a year prematurely in Delhi as a result of air pollution. What would be your 3 things to the residents across the country? Because this order actually applies to states across the country on which are the states that which must actually ban crackers and which are the ones that can have green crackers. What would be your advice to people this festival season, Dr. Kishore?
Whenever we have such problems and issues, I think it should be multi-pronged. We have already witnessed that when the school involved and the school children, take up that no crackers, it was really a good move. Similarly, we can have various kind of awareness campaign. So at the community level, we require a lot of awareness, and also health issues. They need to be understood, and changing of the we have to involve the religious people. They should be involved, and they should tell the people that such kind of celebration is not required. We may have a different kind of mindset, or maybe change of their behavior towards such kind of practices. And then the government also has to play a role. They have to do what they need
Right.
to be done. They have to implement those all things in a scientific manner. We have a scientific evidence. They have to implement those all things. And the world over, we know that if we can control these all things through our
Yes.
actions, why not? Why we are waiting for whom we are waiting for.
Absolutely. And therefore, we also must emphasize the responsibility that citizens have. Mr. Anand Arya, I would want you to elaborate on this, that while we question our governments, while we question authorities and civic bodies, and you've said this before, there's so many tribunals and boards, and there's a new commission again that has come into place which will have overarching powers. But despite that, implementation failures, and also, would you say to a certain extent, a callous attitude on the part of the citizens as well. What would be your advice to citizens who equally, I think, have a responsibility in this?
You see, the first thing as a citizen, even to me or to anyone else, I think one must look at one's own welfare first by simply saying that I will burst crackers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't happen to me. This is not right. You see, some, as Dr. Kishore said, lot of education has to go out, especially through the school. I mean, we have to build this into the curriculum of the young children, so that they understand what this is. And the third is that actually people like Dr. Kishore can really help, is that the number that you mentioned of the deaths taking because of pollution is, I think, to my mind, is way too low, because a number of deaths are attributed to, let us say, lung failure. Now, why is there a lung failure? This is a cause arising, it's an effect arising out of a cause of pollution, polluted air. Now, so many things are happening, and the other thing is that if and the other point I made earlier was about the livelihood. How many people are involved in the let us say in the cracker manufacturing across the country? Something like about 100,000 people or 150,000 people. Why cannot the government compensate them once for loss of job and then retrain them for another job?
Yes.
You see, this is something which is
Absolutely.
totally essential
Absolutely. They
compared
must
to
be given alternatives. That's all we are asking. And point very well made. And I take your point. I have to wrap up here. Thank you so much, Mr. Anand Arya and Mr. Kishore, Dr. Kishore, for joining us this afternoon. This is an important discussion and we must keep having it over and over again. People must realize their responsibility. And also, of course, we continue to seek accountability from the authorities responsible for controlling pollution. Is the NGT order on cracker ban enough? Remains to be seen. Thanks for watching.